Hello Redshifters! Redshift 2.6.30 for Cinema4D introduces baking. The way baking works in Cinema4D is the exact way baking works in Maya. And that means we create a list of objects to be baked and we bake them. That list of objects is called the Redshift bake set. So we go to Redshift, Objects, Redshift bake set, and that contains a list which is right now it's empty, so I'm gonna drag these two objects into this set, and then I can specify the width and the height of the actual textures to be rendered, and I can specify if I want to render UV sets outside the 0, 1 UV space, so like ZBrush, Mudbox or Mari UV tiles. And I can also specify UV source. Now, the name of this UV source is actually UV set. But if your object has an UV set that's not called the same way as you set it in the bake set here, it won't be rendered. So make sure that your UV set that will be specified here in this field will exist in each object that are here in the list of the objects to be baked. Then we hit bake and we specify where we want to output this. We specify if we want to bake all the bake set or the selected bake set, and if you want to have an animation or not, and we specified if you want to have the default beauty rendered. So we hit bake, and this progress bar is not the same as this one. This one shows the progress bar per object, this shows the lower progress bar. So because we had two objects, we have 50 and then 100%. Then we actually gonna bring in the rendered files. So this is the sphere and this is the material for the sphere. And let's bring it in. No. And I'm gonna connect it to the actual output. And as you can see here, it contains the refuse, the reflection, and everything. It's actually the beauty. And then we're gonna get the exact same thing for the plane. No, and then we connect it to the output. And then you go. There you go. You have the reflections, you have the shadows, you have the diffuse, you have the GI if that was turned on. And I'm not sure this was turned on or not. GI, no, it was off, and so on and so forth. That's all there is to it. But there are some limitations that you have to be aware of. First, no overlapping UVs. So if we look at the actual UV set, here you see that these UVs are not overlapping, the same with this object. Okay, so make sure these are not overlapping, otherwise Redshift doesn't know where to actually render and store the rendered result into the UV texture. Okay, the second thing you have to be aware of is no tessellation. Okay, so no render time tessellation through the Redshift object geometry tessellation enabled. That doesn't work on baking. The third thing you have to be aware of is the fact that, well, these faces have to be coplanar. So for instance, this exact face is coplanar right now. If I move this vertex, this is not coplanar anymore. So Redshift won't know where the normal is pointing. Okay, so if you have these kind of situations, do triangulate this or make sure that they are indeed coplanar. Other than that, you can also render AOVs. Okay, and the way you render AOVs is, let's get the beauty here. You render AOVs for baking through the direct output, not through the multipass. Okay, then you specify the format in here in the regular save, not in the multipass. You specify the format as whatever you want. If you have plenty of options here, and that's all there is to it. If you have any questions, as always, just put them on the forums. We're there to help you. Happy redshifting, guys. Cheers.